Tonight, after years of watching migrants climb over the border fences at night and sometimes in broad daylight, one of the newer low-tech devices being used is enormous amounts of barbed wire. More than 12 miles of it now stretches from the beach in California to the San Ysidro port of entry and around that port of entry in places. Today, they shut it down for several hours there to lay concrete barriers and new wire to keep order there, where there are reports that migrants may attempt to rush the port to gain entry. They're being pressured by some Tijuanans to go back to Honduras.
We do know of incidences here in Tijuana and in other cities that some of these people that are coming into with these caravans are committing crimes. And so we are protesting, I am protesting that we want the government to take control. We want them to stop them at the border and register them, check who they are.
Donald Trump es verdad, es una invasión.
Joining me now, Pete Flores, director of the San Diego office for U.S. Customs and Border Patrol. Pete, good evening. Thanks for being here tonight. You know, you look at all that razor wire that is being laid down across the tops of those walls that we've seen people climb over in the past. Why wasn't that done before?
I think we've always had wire in our inventory of what we did at the border across the southwest border. So it's not something new. I think based on the size of this caravan, based on the violence and the force that we had seen used by this caravan, we really thought that it was in our best interest to take a look at our vulnerabilities and some of the gaps we had at the border and quickly make those assessments and do what we could to put up some additional infrastructure on our borders at our ports of entry to ensure we didn't have mass incursions.
All right. The understanding is that there's about 6,000 people across the border and that they are near the port of entry in San Ysidro, and that the people in Tijuana want them to go back to Honduras. How do you think this is going to end?
Well, I think, you know, from the very beginning, this caravan has been different, not only just because of its size, but because of the violence, the criminal elements in the caravan, the use of force, and then the messaging of the individuals in the caravan. So I think in Mexico, as they went through Mexico and now have arrived in Tijuana, we have individuals who are waiting in line and orderly waiting in line for a process of asylum to come through the ports of entry and make their request.
Yeah, I understand there's about 100 people who are being processed every day through the typical procedure that is expected to be carried out. You know, I'm just curious, there's a lot of people who said that this was ridiculous, that this was all overstated, that it wasn't, you know, that there's no invasion going on, and that this is simply not a big deal, that it was used for election to put fear into people before the election. What do you say to that?
I think from what we see in Tijuana, the 6,000 that we have, there's 6,000 plus we have in Tijuana, the other 12 to 1,300, potentially more now that we have in Mexicali. The caravan and those members, just the amount of what we see in those caravans is real. And it's problematic for us as they look to potentially avoid or try to circumvent the normal process to coming through our ports of entry in a legal way.
Yeah, there's a lot of talk about Kirstjen Nielsen being removed from her post. Do you think there's a need for new leadership?
I think what we're doing right now, I think under DHS and what we're doing today, we have great leadership in what we're doing and how we're attacking this problem set that we have. This is a big issue, and there are gaps in how we handle immigration, the process, the loopholes that we have in the law. So there are gaps that need to be closed in order for us to be successful.
One more quick question before I let you go. The president pointed out that he thought it was interesting, ironic was his word, that a lot of the people coming through in the caravan are waving the flags of the home country that they say is persecuting them and making it impossible for them to live in that country. Do you find that surprising?
Well, I find that we have seen that in the past, but when Mexico has offered these individuals, they've offered them asylum status, they have offered them work permits, they've offered them workshops on how to obtain asylum and work permits in Mexico. So the Central Americans that are passing through Mexico, if in fact they do have fear or fear to be in Central America, they have an option. They've been provided that option, and they should take advantage of it.
Thank you very much, Pete Flores. Good to have you here tonight.
Thank you.